Rocketman is the epic musical fantasy about Elton John's early years as he transformed into the megastar that we know and love. I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor here at Gold Derby, and I'm talking with Dexter Fletcher, the director. Dexter, Rocketman delivers a really joyous experience for its audience. It's a fantasy, it's colourful, it's vibrant. What was Elton's initial feedback to you personally after he saw the final product?
Well, the truth is, he phoned me after the first. The first time he saw its entirety, it was in Cannes. But what he said to me personally was that he felt it was a masterpiece, and I don't say that lightly because it sounds like I'm being a little bit disingenuous or I'm flash. But that is what he said, and because it's a film about his life and his experience and his relationship and stuff, and obviously his reaction is really important to me. I wanted to make a film that I was proud of, but that's also something that he was proud of and felt got to the emotional truth of who he is and what he went through. So I don't think he used it in a flip way. He said it was a masterpiece, and I think for him that is probably true. I mean, because it's such a hard thing to get right, that emotional integrity and honesty of it, and that was always the aim. And so when he said that was obviously a hugely important moment for me.
Yeah, the story is unexpectedly relatable because it dramatizes his journey from a small town dreamer to megastar. And what were you ultimately setting out to achieve by focusing on how he broke through in his early years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a significant moment in any sort of icon's journey is that moment when they break free of who they are, their small town kind of upbringing to being a worldwide megastar. Yeah, that's absolutely integral to the part of the film that we looked at, and also it sets up what that really means, what the cost of achieving your dreams can be sometimes, and especially with people as creative and as talented as him. When you set out on a journey, there's inevitably a cost, and I think that what the film tried to responsibly tackle was look at seemingly everything being great and him achieving his dreams and all his ambitions, but then what is the real price that you can pay for that? Because I think it's easy in the world that we live in to think, well, if I'm famous and everybody knows my name, I won't have any problems. If I'm rich and I can buy whatever I want, I won't be lonely. And of course, these things are fallacies. They're not to say that being rich doesn't make your life easier, and of course it's nice. But it also tries to examine the price of the personal cost of that, and he's someone who certainly paid that price along the way and managed to find his way out of it, fortunately, and keep on being creative and keep working and loving.
Yeah, and when you go into a film like this, a biopic about Elton John, you kind of have an expectation of what you're probably going to see. It's going to be very colourful, it's going to be very vibrant, but this movie is so striking in the way in which that you've really highlighted his visual style. And I wonder, even though you had a lot of stuff that you could have looked at to adapt, how challenging was it though to strike that visual style and those production values, because it's so larger than life, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and the truth is that there was an embarrassment of riches in terms of all the source material. And, the truth is we could have made this film 10 times over and still not run out of material in terms of visuals, because he was always at the cutting edge and pushing those boundaries from one day to the next, sort of on a daily basis, and certainly on a concert by concert basis. It's it's one of those wonderful situations, really, where what I endeavoured to do with those production heads of department and those creative teams was to take where Elton had been at a certain period and enhance them even more, to bring it up so that the film was always constantly visually arresting and reinventing itself and inventive and kind of reinterpreting stuff that we thought we knew. And it's like taking classic iconography and then just putting another spin on it and taking the music that we all know and love so well and just putting another spin on it, because the film really is an examination of someone remembering their life. And how I talk about it is that memory is fallible. You know, it's not an exact mechanism. It's something that's really more based in emotion and how you felt at the time, and that can affect how you remember something. And so that's why the songs are out of order. They're not in a chronological order, because the songs are just trying to speak to how he feels at that particular time. And sometimes that means that I Want Love, for example, that wasn't written till the mid-80s, is sung in the late 50s, because it speaks more importantly to where the characters are emotionally at that point. And that's what's more important. You know, this person talking about their life is trying to communicate how they felt. And it's not a chronological, linear telling of facts. It's a jumble of someone who's in a complete emotional state, trying to remember how they felt and then communicating it. And that's why, for me, the film is a lot more human, a lot more emotional.
And see, that was quite a risky move that paid off, because you've elevated this film from just another biopic. It's so magical when we watch those musical sequences, and they're all completely out of order because obviously that's how he's remembering his life. What was the thinking behind that? I mean, was there always a concern that might not come off and might not work?
So you'll have to repeat that. Sorry, that last bit. Was there always a concern that what?
Yeah, was it a concern for you? Because that's risky to do a film in that way. You could have just done a really kind of simple chronological biopic like we've seen so many times before. Yeah. But this one we were able to focus on those musical numbers and really kind of almost be immersed in them.
Yeah, I suppose it was a risk. I mean, I think naively, I felt I had the answer to that, which was this idea that our storyteller, Elton, is an unreliable storyteller. Sometimes he's lying. Sometimes he's trying to, pull the wool over our eyes. Other times he's being he's oversharing and being completely frank and honest. And so I suppose I understood that convention or that idea behind it, and I barreled through it in that way. And I knew that I never saw it as a straight biopic per se. I saw it as a musical that was about Elton John, and so that freed it up in a lot of respects. That frees it up in and around the things that we talked about. The narrative can jump around a bit, and we can sort of follow. I was a kid, and then I discovered rock and roll, and then I, met Bernie, and then I got a record deal, and there's those kind of standard tropes. But because it was free of being, what it is that it's not a third person telling it; it's a first person recounting of the story. It's not. We're not looking at it from the outside, because we're inside of the storyteller's mind. Because we're inside of the emotional experience, it means that I'm freer to explore his psyche, as it were, to explore how he felt in that time. And it makes sense to me when you say, well, the first time I played the Troubadour, it's like time stopped and everybody floated. That is an imaginative way of telling an experience that he had and how he felt emotionally, rather than having someone say, well, I played the troubadour and it was really great. Unfortunately, that doesn't go anywhere near towards communicating what it means. You know, really great is a very, very closed interpretation of something that can be really great. It doesn't, and in the film we have this incredible opportunity to elaborate on why it was great and what it felt like, and why things felt bad and why they felt bad and how they felt bad. You know, you could be at the depths at the height of your fame. You can feel like you're at the bottom of an extremely deep swimming pool just before you're about to play Dodgers Stadium, and then get out on stage and have such an incredible experience that you feel like you shoot off into space. It's a roller coaster in that respect, and I think this is one of the strengths, hopefully, of the film, is that we use those visuals and that language to communicate how he felt and at those times. You know, it just felt like a more interesting way to tell the story.
And then with all of that you've kind of pulled together, it was so important to find the right person to play him. And thankfully, the casting of Taron Egerton was pretty amazing. He delivered such an incredible performance. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about finding the right person for that role, and then obviously working with Taron throughout the film?
Well, Taron was talked about very seriously as I was coming onto the project anyway. It was Matthew Vaughn, who's the producer who directs Kingsman, knows Taron very well. And Taron and I had worked together on Eddie the Eagle. And I don't remember any other person being in the conversation when I came on board. When I got the script, I heard about the possibility of Taron playing Elton, and knowing Taron as I do, I immediately said, well, that is a genius idea, because I know he's a brilliant actor, and for what I think this story is going to be, that's the person you need. So I very much got engaged with that idea when I heard that he was a significant part of that conversation. So that went a long way towards me really making it clearly known that I was interested in directing this film, and that I was interested to know what they were doing. But look, the thing about Taron is he has an incredible instrument, an incredible voice, as well as an incredible talent, and roles like this are career defining. And I think that Taron absolutely responded to that, knew that, and over delivers. You know, I think it's very hard for anybody to deny watching this film that his commitment and his honesty in that role is you know, staggering. And I defy anybody who doesn't think so. You know, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but that's an incredible performance.
Yeah, he really goes for it, as you do as the film's Helmer. And I remember seeing you both at a premiere a few months ago. You've probably been to quite a few of them over the last few months. And it was so obvious, the sense of camaraderie that you both have and the respect between you both. How important is that, though, when you're trying to tell an authentic story, that you have that communication between director and leading man?
Well, I think it was very key for both of us, because Taron, obviously, with a performance like this and a character and a story like the one he's portraying and telling, means that he has to take incredible risks as an actor. He's not playing safe. I mean, you know, I didn't sit down to him and say to him, hey, we're going to tell a really lovely story about how great Elton John is. We sat down and I said, there's going to be some dark moments in this film, and you're going to have to be ugly. You know, he drug addiction is ugly. Alcoholism does not bring out the best in people. And that is what we're going to tackle. We're going to tackle these things, as well as the exuberance and the celebration of his music. We're also going to look at the price that he paid personally. And that means you're going to have to play things larger than life. he's a larger than life character, and it's a musical. These things that come at a cost in terms of he's got to go out there and so he needs to really trust me that I'm going to keep him on the ledge. I need to trust him that he's going to step out onto the ledge and lean forward where it's most dangerous. And he needs to trust me that I'm going to hold onto his belt and not let him fall on his face and make a fool of himself. So that camaraderie you talk about is absolutely key for both of us, because I want him to soar, I want him to fly and show everything he's capable of. And similarly, he wants to do that, but we need to absolutely trust each other. And we're very fortunate, I suppose, that's what we have as friends. And so we can be definitely honest with each other, and he can say, I'm not feeling it. And I say, you got to trust me. And fortunately, we both come out with a film that we're profoundly proud of.
Yeah, and so when all is said and done, and you feel proud about what you've accomplished, Elton John loves it, and then you've received so much critical acclaim for the film coming out of Cannes and then after its release, do you feel vindicated, relieved? Like, what's the feeling that you have when you see how it's been received by critics and by fans?
I think, it's immense pride is the overwhelming feeling, if you're asking me how I feel. I think, there's a lot in this film as filmmakers and artists to be proud of. And of course it is a struggle. It's difficult. We took on challenges that maybe some people don't or didn't or haven't done in the past. And that's a risky strategy. It's a high risk strategy in terms of his sexuality, his drug addiction and all the other demons that he wrestles with. Or the prejudices that he has to fight against and had to overcome, and probably still battles to this day one way or another. And of course, there's an immense sense of pride, I think, that we went there. We had a studio that supported us, because that could be counted as a landmark step for a studio like Paramount to go, look, there's a guy here who said he's going to make an R-rated musical. There's going to be, a gay love story in there. And that's something that most people generally shy away from. It's easier to shy away from it than do it. Is it, okay, well, we can just ignore that and pretend it doesn't really happen. And Elton would never have stood for that anyway. Look, him being who he is, he was one of the first people who have a civil partnership with David Furnish. They're very loud and proud, and they have their family and they got their kids, and they live their life, their best life possible in the most wonderful way that they can. And it's our part in it is to not ignore that and be like, yeah, that's the way it is. This is who we're talking about. So I think I want to talk about is how proud I think it make, the gay community is not necessarily my community, but I'm happy to feel part of that community, if you know what I mean, to play part in representing that, because these things need to be pushed forward. It's 2020. It's like, yeah.
And so ultimately, you've made an authentic and honest portrayal. If Elton didn't like it, you would have heard about it. And so you're now in award season, and we wish you all the best, Dexter. Thanks so much again for your time today.
I appreciate that. Thank you ever so much.
To all Rocketman fans, try to go to make your predictions for Rocketman. You never know; it could be up for plenty of awards this season, and